today we want to know the role of opposition in economic development in Africa.
Thank you so much for bringing in this important question. One is the role of political parties in Africa. As of course you are aware, the opposition, the way you call it, I think to me that's wrong. The name opposition, someone who is there paid taxpayers' money, but you call him opposition. I think we better look for a better name that we give to our brothers and sisters. But anyway, since it is constitutional, let me share my views to say that the role of the opposition is particularly to help Africa achieve social cohesion. Social cohesion is that people must be able to appreciate and value and lift each other for peace and development. So we got so many things in Africa that divide us. So this is the time, after understanding the mistakes that we have done in terms of governance, it is time we agitate for political reforms that redefine what opposition means. We are supposed to see an opposition, let us say the way you call it, helping government in uniting the people of Uganda, of Africa, in terms of bringing the reality that regardless of political parties, regardless of religions, regardless of the ethnicity, the tribes that exist in Africa, all those must be at the helm of such an opposition leader on how to bring them together for social cohesion, peace, and economic development. So anyone who thinks that particularly you can build a country when people are isolated from each other, then that's an empty dream. So ndowooza kyekiseera ndowooza nerinnya opposition tulijje mu constitution kubanga kigambo kitukanga abamu ku ffe. Role y'abakulu abo yendibadde kuyambako government to unite the people, not to divide them. They have capacity to unite all religions so that the message of peace can be in the mosque, in the churches, you know, to make sure the opposition play a role in uniting all tribes towards a common vision. So that is very critical, that the role of the opposition is to unite people for peace and development. Now, because of how you define them, and you use our taxpayers' money to pay them, as well as civil servants, it's like divide and rule. So Africa needs to reinvent the democracy, the definition of democracy in Africa by redefining the meaning and the role of the opposition, of which this is the role of uniting Africa for integration, for peace. So probably the next one is particularly that they have a role in terms of deepening our economic understanding of what Africa means to the rest of the world. We are supposed, for example, as opposition, supposed to improve the quality of human resource, the human capital, the human stock on the continent through education, by advocating for improved education curriculum and better assessment of education, but also rolling out best practices that enable the 200+ million students on the continent to making sure they graduate with jobs, not job seekers, would now prepare the young generation in Africa, particularly for business, for entrepreneurship, for innovations, to make all the technologies that we have been importing, all these clothes. So the role of the opposition in the 21st century is particularly to push government and other partners to be able to become self-reliant, nations to become self-reliant, and to help government activate markets all over the world. It has not been done properly. It seems you have this baby called opposition. You have also another baby called the government, each of them fighting against each other. The role of the opposition is to provide alternative and innovative solutions to economic problems. What are these economic problems? Unemployment. So the role of political parties must be there. How do we end youth unemployment? By pushing better economic policy systems, by looking where government cannot see in terms of market access. You know, we are talking about Africa integration, so that now the African market can expand. Having one currency, you know, having one passport, having a common shared transport system, you know, having a railway system all over Africa, to make sure goods and services can, you know, move across by breaking borders, for example. If I were a political opposition leader, I would be right now, you know, striking why we still have these borders between Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, you know, South Africa, Nigeria. We are supposed to be one continent, one country called Africa. I would be pushing for one currency. One, you know, all these are the critical things for the opposition, so that they become relevant in the 21st century, other than becoming vehicles for neocolonialism. Maybe lastly is the role of the opposition. Now this is on climate change. I expected that political parties in Africa would be playing a key role in fast-tracking efforts against climate change, the threats of climate change, which are hampering our future. I would be now almost on a daily basis calling for young people to plant trees. But how many political parties, for example, have moved a campaign on Go Green? You know, but government seems to be talking, but of course government has its baggages. There is a lot of corruption. So the opposition would be the exemplary system, a system that makes government not to sleep, not to steal because of the advocacy campaign. Yes, they must strike. This is now when we are striking and you know, running around the streets, we would be striking that we want 100 million trees, which government doesn't want us to plant. That would really mean a lot of business.
Maybe not give them a chance. They don't give them opportunities.
Okay, let me ask you, have you ever heard in Uganda for political parties striking that they are going to plant trees? It has never happened. My brother, I'm talking about reality. Whatever I'm talking about here, like this is what they're supposed to do. By no kubanga beba challenging a government mukukora ebintu ebiri innovative, ebintu ebiri challenging, you know, solutions eziri mu kyasa kyaffe, you know. So maybe lastly, the role of opposition would be to deepen ideological orientation of our citizens. Did you know many of Africans are very, very, you know, they are dull, they are empty about even their human rights and freedoms. They don't know. They still think the president, for example, has a right to kill people. You know, and they still believe that beating a woman, a husband beating his wife is okay. You know, people don't know their rights. They think, you know, cutting down trees is justifiable. It is a human, everyone has, you know, Africans wake up. They think it's still free for the army to come and slaughter people in the village. They still, so the role of political parties is to awaken the population to making sure citizens understand their human rights, that they have a right to live, they have a right to assemble, they have a right for personal consciousness, they have a right to travel, a right for belonging, a right to, and freedom to speak. I have a right for association. Ugandans don't know their rights. And so I feel that the political parties in Africa, they have a role to improve the mindset of citizens so that the citizens who pay tax are having capacity to push government to account, for example, for the tax they pay. Yes, we are paying tax, but what is the accountability in terms of better public service delivery? So what about term limits? What about rule of law? What about security? Citizens have a right for security because they pay government. They facilitate whoever has passed through as a president to facilitate those demands. And so it's not just that government has helped us to make a road. I hear that in different parts of Africa. They helped us. The president helped us to make a road. He helped us. He gave us food. No, this is your own money. The president is simply a civil servant. You are the one who facilitates him. The MPs, the members of parliament, are your workers. The RDCs, everyone is part of a story, but that story must end with a justifiable meaning that the role of political parties is to particularly help us see an alternative solution on the side, not particular to also disorganize government. I have seen it in some countries where NGOs particularly and political parties, civil society organizations, usually after elections and towards elections, they assemble energy to fight and disrupt government operations. That is, I think, not their role. Their roles are constitutional, and if something is not constitutional, then the role of political parties is to make sure there are constitutional reforms so that there are laws enabling the people to live in peace, to enable people to prosper in their country and to enjoy their natural resources. But also, lastly, political parties are supposed to help us build our capacity in terms of preparing us for a future. What is the future? The future is disruptive for Africa. We need to be self-sufficient. I am not hearing political party leaders on the continent saying we have gold, we have the diamonds, we have this, we have this. Why can't we now industrialize our economies, digitize our economies so that we are able to produce our own products here and services so that now we can feed the rest of the world? That's where the true democracy will be facilitated from, and its personal responsibility.